No, it's fallen off. I did. And not for Ben Bernanke, former chairman of the US Federal Reserve. I'll build absolutely not. Never give up.
Showtime! Yes, boss.
Hello, sir. I'm good. Very much.
You can open it. Do you want to open it? Want me to open it?
Go for it.
Good evening, Trojans! Yes! Welcome. For the briefest moment, I'm your Sergeant at Arms this evening. Because our Sergeant at Arms unfortunately can't make it. Paula, who was also one of our speakers, they've had a CQC inspection at her work. CQC is the Care Quality Commission. It's the regulatory body for a lot of things in public service and public health. And it's a big deal when they show up. So sadly, she's not able to be with us tonight. So I shall be your Sergeant at Arms. There are no planned fire drills this evening, so if the fire bell goes off, we make an orderly route out the front door and congregate across the road. Simon, you're not leaving yet. Oh, you're just shutting the door. There will be a networking break at the halfway point through the program. Kitchen's through that door, and there's tea, coffee, and biscuits, and there might be some cold water. But otherwise there's hot drinks. And the loos are straight through the kitchen and down the corridor on your right-hand side. And without further ado, I will pass over to the president of our meeting to open the meeting. Good evening, Trojans!
Oh my God, you changed.
It's amazing. Tomorrow, if my iPhone is to be believed, is going to be the hottest day we've ever had in London. Previous to this, the hottest day in London was the 1st of July, Canada Day, in 2015. And on that day, that was in the middle of a period when I was working with a group of Muslim guys, and it was Ramadan, and I fasted with them during Ramadan. And on the hottest day of the year, I came home on the tube, and it must have been 50 degrees on the Central Line. And I got off the tube and walked home, and I couldn't have anything to eat or drink until sundown. It was brutal. Thankfully, I'm not fasting anymore. But yeah, so I remember the previous record for heat in London, and tomorrow's about to break that. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, according to my phone, it will be 38 degrees in London. Which is kind of insanely hot. And at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, I will be on an airplane flying to Canada. I'm delighted to be here tonight because this is the first time in my 3.5 years at Trojans that I've been at the 2nd July meeting. Because my wife and I always go back to Canada for a holiday, and she's a teacher, and as soon as her school breaks up, we're off. And normally her school breaks up on a Tuesday and we're off on a Wednesday, but this year for some reason her school didn't break up until today, so we're off tomorrow. So I'm delighted to be with you all tonight. And I will now hand over to our Toastmaster for the evening, Mr. Craig Wolf.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's my pleasure tonight to be your Toastmaster on a balmy evening like we have right now. Let me start with the program for tonight, just especially for those guests to understand how the flow goes. Tonight's session is very much broken into two parts. So the first part of the session is all about speeches, and those speeches will be evaluated. There's been a slight change to the schedule tonight. You'll see 4 speeches there. That's been dialed down to 2. We've got 2 wonderful speeches lined up, and those speeches will be evaluated in the first part of the session. As we lead into our networking break, we're going to allow ourselves to have some much needed refreshments. We'll allow the guests just to say a couple of words, a brief introduction as to who they are and why they're here. And then we lead into the second part of the evening of the night, which was all about impromptu speaking. So that ability to be able to think on your feet when you're given a topic, and then within seconds having to get up here and think on the fly. We're going to have an extended session of that tonight, so very much looking forward to it. And as we lead in, and as I started thinking about my role as Toastmaster tonight, I started thinking about what would be an ideal theme. So, I mean, what we're having at the moment is absolutely glorious weather. It's an absolute scorcher at the moment. Blue skies, amazing weather, things that just don't typically happen in the UK. And when they do happen, they catch us off guard. We moan for months and months about how crappy and rainy and cold it is, and suddenly we get hit with a heat wave and we don't know what to do with ourselves. So my number one objective tonight is to not melt too much on stage, as I'm kind of doing right now, to try and work my way through the evening. And I thought, why not have a theme around summer? And why don't we have a theme around the Great British Summer? I know you're starting to think, how does that all fit together in the same sentence, but it's true. We do have great summers. They do tend to be very short. So what I've done to the different people who are carrying out roles tonight, I sent them out an email and said, give me your favourite memory of summer. And whether it be as an adult, whether it be as a child, tell me about a favourite time. And I said to those people, if you want to come back to me with your favourite memory, please do so, and I'll look, if I can, to share that with everyone here. If you choose not to do that, then you give me free license just to make something up on the fly, and I might just do that as well. So as we go through the night, let's look to interject some and share some of those great memories of your fellow Trojans. On a night like this, you need an amazing support cast to make the night run smoothly. And believe it or not, we've got some of the best in the business. So first up tonight, I want to introduce our timekeeper, Curla Donahue, who will come forward and just explain what her role is for tonight.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Good evening, most welcome guests. Sorry that I'm very polished this evening, I'm very hot. So my role this evening is timekeeper. The first time, this is my 3rd time doing it. The first time I did this role, I thought, oh, it'd be easy, I just need to do the time. Did not realise I had to come ahead loads of times. So my role this evening is to keep time of the meeting, time of the speeches, and whoever is speaking, I will indicate when they need to carry on, or slow down, or stop. So I've got a light there, but I haven't got an assistant with me, so that's why I came prepared with some colours. So when the green light goes on, it means you're in a safe place and you can continue speaking. Yellow means that you're still okay, but it's time to start summarising and get ready to stop. And red means you've got 13 seconds to, don't rush, but 30 seconds to just finish that speech. So, and if after 30 seconds you're still going, I'll be banging away, because that's my new favourite toy at the moment. So with no further ado, let's get the show on.
Quick quiz question. We heard at the outset of the night that we had our hottest temperature ever in July a few years ago. And what was that temperature?
I think it was 36.
A bit more precise than that. You're on the right track. 30.1. Anyone else? Okay, well, there were about 36.7, and it happened out at Heathrow. Can anyone guess what has been the hottest day ever in the UK? Temperature-wise. Hottest day ever in the UK. What the date? The temperature. It happened in 2003. Come on guys, it's going to be higher than 36.7 because that's a July record. So we can work from that probably upwards.
40.
Do you think we've hit 40 before? Anyone else going to go higher than 40? Yes, we're on the right track. 38.5 back in 2003 in a place called Faversham, of which I've never heard of, but some of you guys probably have. And David's dead right. So there's predictions that we might even hit 39 this week. Different numbers get bandied about. We could be on track for a record. My second helper tonight, the second part of the support crew, is our Harkmaster. Can I ask Irina to come forward and explain her role?
So my role for tonight is actively listening to all of us who is coming on stage today. And I suggest to all of you should actively listen to each speaker that comes on stage, because at the end of the meeting, I'm going to ask some questions of what's been discussed here. And who knows the right answer is going to receive some presents from me. It's going to be a surprise, of course.
Okay, the first speech of the night will be done by Cam Baines. It is Competent Communication Manual number 5. The evaluator for this evening is David Horn, and before I ask David just to share with us the objectives for that speech, I just wanted to share with you one of his favourite memories ever from summer. His favourite memory was back in the summer of '69. Sounds a little bit Brian Adams to you, which is true, but it was actually 50 years ago, so a really long time ago, is where he listed his favourite memory, or one of. He was sailing with his family on a private boat up the west coast of Canada for the entire month. They were swimming, they were catching fish, they were cooking fish, they were just having the absolute time of their lives, and 50 years on, it's a memory he still treasures today. David, can you read your objectives for this speech?
So Cam's speech is number 5 from the Competent Communication Manual, Your Body Speaks. And the objectives are to use stance, movement, gestures, facial expressions and eye contact to express her message and achieve the speech's purpose, and to make her body language smooth and natural, and she has 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you, David. So, can everyone give a hand for Cam, who's going to do speech number 5, beautiful memory.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to start off by asking you to close your eyes, and I would like you to think about someone you love. Bring up the feeling. What is it that you love about them? What qualities do they embody? Are they kind? Are they caring? How do they make you feel? There's a quote which goes along the lines of, you don't remember what they said, but you'll always remember how they made you feel. So ladies and gentlemen, you can open your eyes now. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about my grandma. I would say she was the very first person that I really, really loved. And I used to call her Buddy Mummy, which literally translates to Big Mum. But she came to the UK from India in the 1960s. And she passed away when I was only 7 years old. So I didn't get a chance to speak to her about her memories, but I have my childhood memories. I have the memories of other family members. And she spent most of her life as a homemaker. She had 7 children, and she had over 20 grandchildren. But for me, she was always my big, cuddly grandma. And I remember I never ever saw her wear English clothes. She always wore, it's called a salwar kameez. So it's a dress which goes up to your knees, and then these loose trousers which are pointed at the front. And if she ever left the house, she'd put a chunni on her head, which is like a see-through scarf. But when she was at home, she would potter around at home. She would go into so loved and special, and there's one particular memory which stands out for me. So my mum and dad had to go to work, so my grandma was the person who'd get us ready for school. That's me and my 2 sisters. She would wake us up gently in the morning, and we didn't sleep upstairs because she wasn't able to climb the stairs, so we all slept downstairs. She would make us go over to the kitchen, we'd stand on a stool, and by one, she'd wash our face. Then we'd go into the living room, and she'd sit down on the settee, and I would sit in front of her. She'd comb my hair, and she'd comb then my sister's hair, and then my other sister's hair. And then it came to the best bit, which was breakfast. I loved having breakfast, because she didn't create 1, 2, 3 bowls of cereal. She'd get one big bowl, she'd put the Weetabix in there, she'd put the cornflakes in there, and we didn't have a microwave, so she'd put the pan on the hob, she'd heat up the milk, and she'd pour the hot milk all over the cereal. And then the 3 of us would sit in front of her, and she'd feed us one by one by one. And I honestly think that's where my love for food started. And I remember I couldn't wait for it to be my turn again, because I had to wait until it done the rounds and it came back to me. But that memory really stayed with me, because it was she made me feel so loved and I felt so cared for. So there was nothing special about the actions I've described. You know, people get up all the time, get ready for school. But what made it special was the way she did it. She was so caring, she was patient, and she treated us like 3 little princesses. And I'm not the only one that felt special, because my cousins have also shared their memories with me. And my cousin told me about a time where she was, her and her brother were playing, her brother stepped on her hairband, and it was her favourite hairband. And she started crying. And my grandma asked her why she's crying, and she said, you know, my brother has broken my hairband. And she said, okay, that's fine. The next day, she went out of her way to find her with exactly the same hairband, in a different colour, and she brought it home and she gave it to my cousin. And my cousin started crying again, and she said, why are you crying now? She said, you're not well, you can hardly walk, but you went all that way to go and get me that hairband. So it was those little memories that build up over time. And her patience and kindness lives on through her children and her grandchildren. Like my dad is the biggest softie. When my grandmother passed away, we didn't have much money, so we couldn't always do the things we wanted to do. But what my dad couldn't give in money, he gave us in time. So he'd come to our sports day, he'd come to our school trips, he'd take us to places to explore. So to wrap up, my grandmother didn't make the history books. She's not Helen Mirren, she's not a celebrity, she's not Michelle Obama. But her legacy is her actions. And I might not always remember what she said, but I will always remember the way she made me feel.
Thank you, Cam. And I just want to add one more beautiful memory of Cam in terms of her summertime memories. So she shared with me when she was a little girl, every summer her dad would take a week off work, and on every single day he would take them to a different theme park every day. Sounds like a roller coaster of a week. And so obviously some beautiful memories and a lot to live up to for any fathers out there that can't match to that. One thing I failed to mention at the outset of the night, for those of you who are familiar, but especially for the guests, the opportunity at the end of each speech to write a commendation, a recommendation and a commendation in terms of an evaluation for the different speakers who are up here. So you should be able to look around your seat, you should be able to find one of these forms. And you'll see next to the first speaker, you simply write the name Cam, And then just anything that comes to mind, especially for the guests and those others here, anything that comes to mind that you liked about the speech. And then obviously there's always room for improvement, so you start to think what could she have done differently, what might she might try differently next time. And then what we do is we collect those forms up later in the evening and we share that back so that she gets a whole host of different feedback for her continuous improvement. So I'm going to ask the timekeeper for 1 minute on the clock to allow for that evaluation to take place before we move on to the next speech. The next speech of this evening will be done by Nishta Chuk. It is Dynamic Leadership Manual number 1, so an icebreaker. This evening her evaluator will be Tanuj Saluja. Before I ask Tanuj to read out his objectives, or the objectives that have been marking for the speech, he too has shared some of his favourite memories from summer. He kept it really broad. He says, summertime's all about enjoying the sun in the back garden with a cold brewski whilst waxing my legs. Tanuj, would you like to read the objectives for the speech?
Sure. So Nishta is starting her journey on the pathway. You can see all about pathway in a new fancy chart poster thingy. And it's a great move for her because she was on the competent communication manual and she wants to embrace the new program and take it head on. And the first speech she's going to be delivering would be an icebreaker speech. It has very general objectives. This project, she needs to introduce herself and bring out her key skills that she's got already in public speaking. So yeah, I look forward to this speech.
Thank you, Tanuj. So with a speech titled 10,000 Hours, please welcome Nishta Chuk.
Sometimes you meet people who spray you with their saliva when they talk to you. Yeah? Do you know there's a word for it? Does anybody know what that word is? No? They're called eloquent. Like eloquent? Eloquent. Okay? Now, does anybody know what is passive eloquence? Anyone? This is a person who speaks very few words, a person of few words. If they were to stand here and give a speech, they would give the shortest speech in the history of Toastmasters. Now, the next time you're the Toastmaster, like Craig, let me give you a fancy word. You can call yourself a symposium. Sounds posh, fancy? Now, are you beginning to think that I am showing off my knowledge of posh and fancy words? Then you're right. Of course I am. Of course I'm showing off because I'm a lover 5. I'm a lover of words. I'm a collector of words. This is all I have done my entire life. In the book Outliers, the author Malcolm Gladwell talks about the concept of 10,000 hours that you spend on your goal to become perfect. In my life, learning English is my 10,000 hours. This is what I've done my entire life. And today in this icebreaker, I'm supposed to tell you the story of my life. And the story of my life is not complete without the story of how I learned English. I became obsessed with English at the age of 10. And that obsession shaped my childhood. It shaped my career choices and why I became a journalist. It shaped this moment. I'm standing here in front of you at this moment, and this moment is indirectly linked to my obsession with English. Now let me take you back to 1990s. I was 10 or 12. I was born in India to a low-income family. My parents couldn't afford a good education for me, so they sent me to a Hindi medium school where even the English teacher was so bad that even her English was terrible. And nobody in my family spoke English. But my life was good. It was 1990s, it was the dark ages before Google. There were no computers, and the word internet didn't exist. But my life was good. Then one day, my family moved to a new neighborhood, and something amazing happened. Amazing. I found myself in the company of rich, privately educated kids, and English is all they spoke. They were mean, they were bullies, they made me cry every single day, but they were the best things that happened to me in my life. It didn't matter that I was the best student in my class or my school. What mattered was my pronunciation. They belittled me. Is it youth or youth? Is it rendezvous or rendezvous? Is it lingerie or lingerie? On that, I'm sure a lot of people have got that wrong. Please accept that. But it didn't matter that I was the top student in my class. All that mattered was the fact that I went to a Hindi medium school and I could write well, but I couldn't speak very well. I would be tongue-tied. But looking back, I think they were the best thing that happened to me in my life. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have found my best friend. The thing that would become my best friend for the next 15 years. This is not the same copy. There's a copy which is sitting in Delhi in my parents' house, which went everywhere I went, even to the toilet. But this is a new copy that I got last week. If it wasn't for the bullying, I would have not fired myself up. I would not have become obsessed with learning, reading, writing. I would have not found the calling of my life. I would not have become a journalist. In India, if you don't speak English, it's a terrible thing. You are excluded from the best economic opportunities. Being able to speak English and good English is an indicator of social mobility. So that bullying helped me become a journalist in 2003 with the Indian Express, which is one of the biggest Indian national dailies in India. In 2006, that ability, combined with my language skills in Hindi, allowed me to join the BBC World Service. And in 2013, I was able to win this. This is the Guardian's International Journalism Competition Award, and I beat 600 people. Some of them went to Oxford, Cambridge, some of them wrote for New York Times, on The Economist. I'm very proud of it. And even in my acceptance speech, I thank my bullies. Now, from this experience, what I learned was I discovered the joy of learning new words, not just in English, but even in other languages. There is a perfect word for everything. I mean, you can express yourself better, write better, you can insult better. Why call someone a fool when you can call them an innie-hammer? Why call them a show-off when you can call them, braggadocious, right? So you insult better, you own it, you leave them confused. Then recently I found the perfect word for my bullies. If I meet them, I'm going to call them Backpfeifen Gesicht. Now, I accept that this is not English, this is German. But this word is perfect. Oh, the joy of finding the perfect word in English and other languages. Backpfeifen Gesicht means a face so annoying that it deserves to be punched. Thank you.
Alright, Backpfeifen Gesicht. I learned something new there. Remember that. Okay, can I have a minute on the clock for an opportunity for everyone to Now to ask for the timekeeper to come back up and share their speech times for the first two speeches tonight, please.
So we had first speaker, Cam, and that was on Beautiful Memories, and that was 6 minutes and 27 seconds. And we had Nishta, if I said it correctly, on 10,000 words, and that was 6 minutes and 28 seconds.
Okay, now's the opportunity for everyone to vote for the best speaker. We've got Cam or Nishta, so up to you who you choose. The opportunity to do so is at the bottom of the slip that you should have with you, and look for where it says best speaker and insert the name, and we'll do a collection and tell you the results afterwards. Anyone else? Okay, great. So now we're going to be moving on to the evaluation part of the evening. I want you to have an evaluator, a specialist evaluator, come up front and center and evaluate the speech that they saw tonight. And evaluating Cam Baines' beautiful memory speech, please welcome David Horn.
Thank you, Craig. Cam's speech was all about Your Body Speaks, and it was really interesting because I was a little bit confused as to why she had us close our eyes, because I couldn't see her body speaking. But it did help to set the tone, but it was an intriguing way to open a speech. She then told us about her big cuddly grandma, and she used some of the most wonderful hand gestures, hugging her shoulders. And when she talked about her grandma and having this apron that covered her big round belly, and she kind of cuddled the belly and gave it a bit of a jiggle. And when she talked about the breakfast and the way she poured the hot milk into the thing and took turns feeding them all, there were some really, really solid uses of interesting body language. Primarily, though, it was with Cam's hands. And I would have loved to have seen more expression with the rest of her body. An opportunity to be a bit more dramatic with what happens. You know, when you're doing a speech on Your Body Speaks, you can make dramatic gestures and use that to demonstrate and emphasize a point. So, for instance, when she was talking about her cousin and whose brother broke the hairband and how upset the cousin was, and she started crying, she could have really, used a lot more physical demonstration of that emotion and how sad she felt, and even fake some tears or something like that. And there were a couple of other points in there where I just felt that Cam could have used more of her body to demonstrate where she was going and emphasize her points. She closed her speech out incredibly powerfully with a very emotional statement about her grandmother, and I think everybody has a grandmother or a grandfather or someone that they love really, really deeply and have always adored all of their lives from childhood upwards. And I thought it was beautiful and powerful when Cam expressed by repeating the quote, which is a quote from Maya Angelou, by the way. And it's a beautiful quote. And when she expressed how she remembered how her grandmother made her feel, and you could see the tears. And that was a really, really powerful, really, really emotional and strong way for her to close out her speech. Well done, Cam.
Thank you, David. And one of the things that struck me when I first joined Toastmasters is seeing the agenda for the evening and just looking down how many lines there are, how many different times there are, and it's kind of military precision, right? 1 minute here, 2 minutes there, 3 minutes there, and it generally seems to follow that kind of time flow throughout the night. So that really stood out to me as a guest, and it still stands out to me to this day. There are different things that happen when we're here at Toastmasters. There's different structures, there's different ways we look to uplift different members that come front and centre. It's their moment when they're on stage, and there's so many people playing a different part of a different role. So I encourage you, when we have different members coming up to evaluate, coming up to do speeches, we're going to table topics later, to really encourage them with a big round of applause to make them feel welcome and those different individuals that come up. So as we move across to the second evaluator for tonight, and of course the second evaluator will be evaluating 10,000 hours, which is Nishta Chug's speech. So I'd like to ask for a warm welcome for Tanuj Saluja.
Right. Nishta didn't waste even a single second setting up the context. And this speech, obviously, we have heard about this 10,000 hours theory, and I was wondering where she was going to go with it. And the way I'm really struggling for what to evaluate you on, because it was a near perfect speech that I've seen from you. And the way I have structured my evaluation is something called as a Zachman framework. Somebody in information sciences will know about it. So I'm going to break it down into the what she did, the how she did it, and the why she did it, and where can she take it from here. So what she did, obviously, as I said earlier, she set the context at the very get-go. She drove us into that context about the words, the world she lives in, and how she admires the whole art of learning English. And she gave us the right amount of information at the right time. She set the right arc for us. There was a bit of an underdog story all the way up to the glory of winning the awards, etc. So that's what I think gripped us into this story. How she did it was obviously she used a lot of anecdotes, humor, the usage of body language was amazing, the stage usage was great, and most importantly she used visual aids. Nothing grips the attention of the audience better than using proper visual aids, and she made a good use of it. And why did she do that? This is her first speech, so to say, in the Pathways module. But she's an accomplished speaker. We have seen her speak here before, but I feel that this sets the bar for you. You have to go up from here, and it's going to be a great challenge. Not only because she can't do it, I think it will be difficult to beat what you've said here. But as I said, where can she take it from here? I think few things I feel she could have improved on was do a bit more eye scanning for the audience. There were occasions where you were looking down into the ground. I get it, you need to gather your thoughts on it. I felt though the story or the speech flowed really, really well when everything was tied together, there could have been a little more, segmentation, more flag posting to say that this is what happened and these were the stages and now I'm here. It felt like it would continue, not to say it's wrong, it's just that I would have appreciated that as an additional layer on all the different dimensions you brought in. But all in all, it was an amazing speech, Nish. I really, really appreciated it, and I really look forward to the next step on your pathway journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanuj. So now we're going to move through to the last part of the evening before our kind of network refreshment break. An opportunity for the guests here tonight, those who are guests amongst us, just to stand up introduce yourself and just give a reason as to why you've decided to come to Trojans tonight. So if you wouldn't mind those guests amongst us, if you wouldn't mind just taking a stand, and we can just go around and you can just introduce yourself, just explain, what's brought you to Trojans tonight. So we'll start there.
Hi, my name is Kirti. I'm not a stranger at Trojans. I've been here a few times. It's always nice to come back. I'm from the Grosvenor Square Speakers Club, and I must confess I was asked by Pedro and Rupa to join, and it's always a pleasure to come back.
We'll save the round of applause for the end, so thank you for that.
Hi, I'm Gary. For my work, I need to do some public speaking, and I'm not very good at public speaking, so I thought I'd come along and see if I can learn something.
Fantastic.
I'm Pedro. I'm also from Grosvenor Square Speakers. I last came to the club when Rupa was the president here, and I've come back to see how you're getting on. And from what I'm seeing, doing very well.
My name is Dennis. Public speaking is something that I feared for a long time. Growing up as a kid, didn't really have that fear, but then during my teenage years it was like a flick and it's like, whoa, this is really scary. Then I studied physics at uni, which was kind of nice because I could avoid people, I could stay in my room and do my equations and whatnot. And we did like one presentation a year, which was again really nice for me. Now I've started my career, and I realise it's time to face my fears, hopefully learn from all of you, as you guys all really experienced. Like those speeches were amazing, and hopefully will hold me back in life and my favourite public speaking. So, thank you.
My name's Ian from Hayes. So I've come here just to be more expressive of what I'm saying and to open up more and to learn leadership skills. And as Dennis had mentioned earlier about in the work life, when you enter the work life, you need to communicate, you need to do presentations, you need to be able to stand your ground and present yourself well. So that's why I've come here. In university and school, we're not really taught the skills, and that's why I think coming here will help that.
I'm Seema, I'm from Arabian Speakers. So Toastmasters have really helped me, and I think the more you go to different clubs, you learn something new every time. I've been to Toastmasters for 5 years, but every time I visit a club, I learn something new that day. So I'm hoping I would get some points as a club ambassador, having visited a new club. I would encourage all of you to please visit other clubs, and you're more than welcome to come to Harrogate anytime. That's it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amparo. I'm also from Arabian Speakers Club. I have been a Toastmaster for 4 years, and I have been a part of the committee for 3 years as VPM, Vice President of Memberships and Vice President of Education. It has given me a lot of courage and self-esteem. And the reason why I have come here tonight is because I believe it's very important to go to other clubs and take learning from other people. Tonight I learned a few things by listening to the way you conducted the meeting, like networking break is a very good word that is kind of new to me. You say coffee break, so it's a very good word, and the introduction by the Sergeant of Arms is very good. So you learn new things by visiting different clubs. Thank you.
Okay, round of applause, thank you. Okay, so that concludes the first part of our evening. Can I have everyone back in here in 10 minutes at 8:25, please?
Oh. Have you got
Thank you. Yeah, I need to actually, I should have put myself down for that particular speech because I knew I wouldn't use enough body language, but I just didn't need it. You know, you don't have to do speeches in order. I should have put myself down for a more, I don't know, storytelling or something.
I did love talking to you. I think also we had that rapport with Audit. The connections that obviously we've all got to show. So we can relate certainly to what you're saying, how you said it.
I think that they will carry on.
How long has it been with the club?
It's been more than 2 years, but I haven't done as many speeches as I should have. But I always take on like I always take on like more of the function role of evaluating. I love being evaluated.
Actually, when you do that, I personally start writing better speeches.
When you do the evaluation?
Yeah, because then you know what, you start thinking what clicks with the audience, what is it that they like.
It's true.
I think personal stories are the best.
Yeah, definitely.
Connect with the audience.
I really enjoy just telling the story, and I know I was meant to use more body language and stuff, but I just really enjoyed myself, and for me that's like a win. You know?
And then you get you know what are the things that you can work on.
Definitely.
So do you have a mentor at the club?
I don't actually. I should really just to help me to use the words.
It's nice to bounce your speech off with the mentor before, get some tips. So how can you embellish it further? What are the things that you can? It always helps.
Yeah. You did your 10 or you just on path 3?
So I've done my DTM. I've got my distributions master matrix. I've finished everything. Traditional ones. I've started sideways and
which route did you choose?
I've taken presentation mastery. It's not fun. So I'm waiting to finish that to take the Europe's back.
You did that because of work?
Yeah, no,
that was a
I didn't think twice about it. I should have.
Did you guys know you would?
No, I've met you. I'm trying to place you.
To be honest, I know I've seen it on buses, but I was until they stop it, I'll just keep going. But I do.
What year
why I'm polite. No one is kidding. It's clearly not nice to see them, isn't it? It's always the messy. The perks of having curly hair.
I do too, it's a real problem. We have about 35 members. We have 15 who are regulars, and we have another 15 who come when they can, and we have 5 who might show up once a year. But they keep paying us, so you know, it helps the club to remain open. Take-up on pathways has been slow. We've been I was very critical of pathways and openly critical of it. Even at some of the COP training things. And I was critical because not because I've got a problem with the program, but the way it was introduced. Toastmasters spent a fortune creating PR campaigns about how amazing Pathways was. And they didn't spend anything on telling us how to use it, how the system works,